we're like finally calling Uber. We're getting ready to leave.
We're like sitting over on the wall by ourselves.
Just the two of us.
I mean, out of nowhere. We weren't talking with him or anything. Like he just comes marching across the room.
And he comes up to us like, "Hey, you guys into psychedelics?"
Welcome to the best hour of their day podcast with your hosts, Jason Fernandez
and me, Jason Ackerman. With more than 20 years in the business,
as both coaches and affiliate owners,
our passion is to help create world-class affiliates
and coaches by building
better boxes. Welcome to
the best hour of your day.
Welcome back. Best hour of their day. Ackerman, Burn, special guest, Kevin Houston.
Hello.
So many of you may be saying, who's Kevin Houston? I'll tell you who Kevin
Many of
Houston
you might
is.
be saying, why is Ackerman so excited right now? So if I will.
Oh, you're going to introduce Kevin Houston.
No, I'm not actually. I'm going to preempt the listeners. If you don't want to hear Jay talk about himself for the next hour,
just shut this off.
Just shut this off because that is
well. Before you shut
about.
this off, if you want to hear someone else talk about how terrible I was, keep listening.
Yeah.
So it's a really with catch-22.
Right.
How much do you not like me versus how much do you not like me?
It's
talking
basically
about myself?
whose team are you on? Are you on my team or on your team? So if you're on my team, keep listening because you'll have all the ammo you would ever want. If you're on Jay's team, keep listening because you'll be very disappointed by the end of this.
Because you'll keep hearing about me.
Yeah.
More importantly, you're going to hear about this guy. So let me tell you about this guy, and then I'll let him do some talking too. Kevin Houston, longtime coach at Albany CrossFit, also a box owner in his own right, and then has gone on to some other really big things in his life. But what we're here to talk about is his time spent at Albany CrossFit under my tutelage or lack
tutelage, yeah,
or lack thereof, right, Kevin?
There was some tutelage going on.
That's a loose statement.
But I think the big picture of this show is going to be really showing my ineptitude as a box owner. However, you can be a terrible box owner, doing a lot of things wrong and still run a successful affiliate.
You can.
All right. Because you were telling us some stories the other day. And where do you think would be the best place to begin?
I think maybe the best place to start would just be what Albany CrossFit looked like when I saw it for the first time.
Ooh, I like that.
So when I saw it for the first time, it was an indoor-outdoor facility. It was
indoor-outdoor, I guess.
Yeah.
Even though it was cold in Albany half the year, yes.
And your whole facility lived in one racquetball court.
Were you there back when we had literally one?
One court.
I took these guys into a racquetball court at On It recently, and it was hard to like envision. Like we had 100 members in one. Like, for those listening, 20 by 40.
Yeah.
And like not a spacious 20 by 40. Like it's like a brick walled.
Well, the best news is back then CrossFit didn't have all the equipment it has now.
True.
So racks.
Yeah. How much equipment did you have in there?
Well, I mean, Jay could tell you he started with a very small investment. There were these portable little racks, some barbells and some weights.
Christian's equipment company on eBay.
Yeah.
And I think they were about $120 each. And every night, right, Kevin was like playing Tetris
Yeah.
And we kind of like moved them around to different. Remember at one point we put them under the stairs?
I do.
And mind you, like this was the best part. I was telling you guys in the racquetball court, it wasn't a normal size door.
Very small door.
Yeah, most of them are not though.
Yeah, normal size at a racquetball.
Yeah,
court.
they're all short.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
don't want the ball to take weird bounces. So I would say the door was what, like 2x6? If like you had to duck to get in, right?
Yeah, it was a little door.
And so these these racks were one piece, and you would have to like you would smash your shins or hit them into the wall. Like it was impossible to take them in and out. But to go back, so we had maybe like 5 or 6 of those. The pull up rig was, remember Chad R?
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy that introduced me to CrossFit. He put him in the wall. So this might have been before Kevin got there. The pull-up rig went into the blocks, but they're like what kind of like cement blocks, right? So they're hollow.
Not weight bearing.
Yeah, they're not weight bearing
situation.
and they're
There's-
hollow.
They're cinder blocks.
Yeah, they're cinder blocks. So I wasn't realizing at the time they weren't actually
you prob-
catching.
You probably didn't use the appropriate concrete anchors.
Yeah,
Probably
we did not.
Did not
Chad did come back to
use the appropriate anchors.
Chad did come back and help fix them. So we had those.
There was just normal plumbing pipe running through it. It wasn't a
Yeah.
pull-up bar. It was
No,
just a
we literally
plumbing
went to
pipe.
Home Depot and bought the
Yeah.
pipe. Yeah. And you remember we had the one muscle up station in the corner
Mhm.
that I had some like dude, I found him on Craigslist. He welded it together. It's in the video. Like if you Google the Albany CrossFit videos, it was like a standalone because you couldn't buy a high enough pull-up bar at the time. So we welded one. So this is how inept I was. I had him build this thing. He brings it in and we're like, this
Not
won't
gonna
fit
fit
in the
in the
door. So he then takes it back home, cuts it in half, and we had to like be able to pin it
You
together.
have to assemble it on site.
You would have been a good part owner, co-owner at Albany
I
CrossFit.
know.
at the
Well, this
time.
is not a joke. We get along just fine now. We absolutely would not have gotten along like 15 years ago.
So, and then the one last thing I would add is like mishmash of like dumbbells, kettlebells that I can find on eBay, and then we bought
Slam balls, which were already leaking. Somehow in 2007, slam balls were always leaking. still.
always like
Some things never change.
Yeah.
and then the puzzle piece mats from like Costco.
Yeah, the floor mats that you get when your wife is like, "Hey, I'm going to start working out," but you're not sure she's committed to it yet, so you just go buy the $59.99 mats.
If that,
Yeah,
yeah.
They're like really thin. They're like quarter inch.
as soon as you walk on them, they lose all.
And they
firmness.
start spreading apart. I remember one time that dude, you remember Luke?
No.
He was like one of my original members. He's probably gone by the time you got there. He was like the first guy to show up in like lifters and this, and he was
Mm.
snatching on the mats and he was just like tearing them apart. I was like, stop snatching on these mats. But anyway, you walk in.
I think the best like thing to touch on would be your role in Albany at that time in Albany CrossFit, which was like you weren't the master trainer, like you were the best trainer in the whole gym, but
I was the
nobody
best trainer in the area.
nobody was a
for
good trainer
CrossFit.
back then.
Yeah.
But you were the master organizer of the circus, right? Like there were so many personalities. There was young and old. There was not fit and less fit, and a few like people who were good at a few workouts. But like you were good at like wrangling the entire circus and just getting everybody to be happy and keep coming back.
Not
keep
like a
coming back.
professional circus like Wrangling Bros, like your local circus.
Yeah, like the knockoff one that would come into town, and you're like, Logan, we're going to the
We're like,
circus, and
at
she's like,
at
Daddy, that
least-
clown's
At
scary.
least one person in each show gets seriously injured. Yeah, that circus.
That
Yeah.
was the standard for a
Why is that
class.
clown smoking a cigarette?
Yeah, that kind of circus. Yeah.
We had members that smoked. They would walk in smoking.
Oh, you know, we
Yeah.
were talking about that the other day with somebody, but yeah, we definitely had smokers. I mean, we'll get into some of the characters, but before we get there, what was that impression? Like you said, you walk in, indoor, outdoor. Do you remember the approximate date?
I feel like it was 2008 or 2009.
Yeah, I'm guessing it had to be 8 because I feel like we did have a second space in 2008. So you must have been there right before that.
Yeah, it did open pretty shortly after I joined. I just remember feeling like CrossFit wasn't a thing then. You know, I know everybody that lives in CrossFit right now thinks it's huge now. It's still pretty small. It was nothing back then. Nobody had ever heard of it. I stumbled upon the website and was like CrossFit.com. And when I found a real CrossFit gym, I didn't know they existed. It was like you had heard rumors like there are gyms where they write the workouts on the board and you come in and they have all the right equipment to do CrossFit.
You're like,
And the first time I ever
"What?"
saw it, I was like, this felt like home, like this is where I want to get after it. Obviously I came from a athletic background. I was just so excited. Like,
What was your background?
Wrestled in high school.
You're in your high school Hall of Fame, right?
Yep. I'm in my high school's Hall of Fame
Hey.
for wrestling.
So am I.
Nice.
Oh,
Are you?
brother?
I guess that's how we're
Are
going
you?
to, guess
Are
that's
you
how we're
in
gonna
high school
wrap
Hall of
this up.
Fame? You're not? Oh,
No, not wrestling.
I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess it's good that we have a referee here.
If you
'cause we
can tell
can-
by his height, he was a Division One basketball player.
People do think I wrestle all the time, though. I'm like, no, I didn't have any desire to get all sweaty and wrestle other naked.
the
Here it
cliche,
is.
the
Here it is.
cliche. And then Kevin was in the military for quite some time. You guys were both in the Navy.
Mhm.
So how did you even hear of CrossFit back then?
So I was a Navy recruiter, and the Air Force recruiter, I wander into his office one day, end of the day.
Was that
everybody's-
Nick?
No, totally different guy. Everybody's bored. It's like, hey, what are you looking at? He's like, you won't believe this website I just found. It has videos of workouts that you've never seen before. And so you remember the old archive of all like the toes, the bars, and there's all in the
Yeah.
like classic Santa Cruz.
They're at the
original
old
gym.
HQ, yeah.
Yeah. So all those videos, we watched them for hours. We didn't go home until like 10 o'clock that night. We were like drinking beer, watching these workout videos. Like, what is this website and how is it all free? We were sort of like going back. The workout of the day was posted. We're like, how is all of this free? Like, do you want to start doing this? So the next day we showed up to the gym and it was some terrible like 5 movement.
Just at your
workout.
regular gym.
Just a regular gym.
Right.
And we tried to approximate these workouts for about 2 or 3 months before I found your gym just off of the main site.
Is that how you found Albany?
Yeah.
So, for reference, Kevin was living in Saratoga, right?
I was in Plattsburgh at this time, which is like 2 hours north of
Oh,
Albany.
you were in Plattsburgh originally?
Yeah.
But by the time you started coming in, you were in Saratoga.
I moved down to Saratoga to be closer to Albany CrossFit.
People were moving to come to my gym. Can you say that about CrossFit Rife?
Yes.
No, people are
Yeah.
getting
People-
stationed.
Listen, no, people move to work at my gym, so don't.
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
But so did
So,
Kevin.
yeah.
But Saratoga was about 45 minutes north. I did own my third affiliate was in Saratoga, CrossFit Soulshine.
What is my third affiliate? I mean, come on.
What?
That was his last one.
We just
My
okay.
fourth one
His
is my
last
last one.
affiliate.
My fourth one, my
He hasn't-
current affiliate, I
it's
should
not.
say.
Does he drop humble brags like that on his podcast a lot?
Never.
Listen, it's
Never,
actually
I would never do that.
It's exhausting for me to swat those down.
Look how tired he
Uh,
is.
yeah.
This is
It's-
this is day
what-
4 with
yeah,
me.
This is what happens when you have to listen to him talk about himself for 4
My
consecutive years.
third affiliate.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to give a geographical reference of, you were 45 minutes away and you would come to the gym every day.
Mhm.
Like nowadays, people take for granted there's a gym on every corner.
There's a CrossFit gym on every corner.
Yeah, CrossFit gym. But you would literally like, and let's start to dive in a little more. Like you were coming to the 5:45 a.m. class.
Yeah, I lived at the 545 for 9 months, which was really like absolute blessing because I think if I had seen the rest of the gym, I may not have turned into the CrossFit I was because I was getting tremendous coaching at 545, but it was a dedicated group of people.
Who was coaching that class?
It was not Jason.
Not Jason.
That was-
Yeah,
Okay,
okay,
that
I
was-
just wanted to.
For those that
I
are-
didn't. That was not my assumption, by the
Okay.
way. Yeah.
This was Brett that was coaching this class. If you read the book Best Hour of Their Day, there's a chapter about Brett where we what you need versus what you want. So Brett was the 5:45 guy, and this Kevin's right. It like lived on an island. It was
We
It
never
was-
saw Jay. Jay never saw us.
I don't in all the time I owned Albany CrossFit, never once did I go to the 5:45 a.m. Well, and
So-
talk about things I did wrong. That's one of the things.
First of many things
Yeah,
that
but
you're
you,
terrible
Katie,
at.
will you keep a list like a ding when this goes up? That's one. First thing.
But,
not
it was
showing
a
up.
big class. So, we've all been in classes that have great energy and are 20 plus. That was every morning at 545. It was the most, when I came in, they had just started what they were calling a 30 hard challenge where they were all like hyper focused for 30 and like really getting after it. And it was younger people, older people. I was younger at that time. I was in my mid 20s. So I was getting after it, man. Teach was there.
Is this
Teach
post
was-
Navy
What is it?
No, you're active duty still, right?
I was still active duty. Yeah.
Yeah,
recruiting at that point?
Yeah. I was doing
Okay.
special warfare.
Got
recruiting.
it.
So, talk about some of the characters. Kevin just mentioned this guy Teach, who actually still goes to Albany CrossFit.
Really?
He made the
Lifetime member.
qualifiers. He's one of my lifetime members. Put that on the list of things not to do, Katie.
I don't know if we're
what
allowed
is
to talk about
Yeah,
lifetime
don't
members.
actually edit this part out. We broke several laws with that one.
What? Yeah, sorry, Teach. You got to pay membership now. What did it cost, and how did
Ooh,
that
the
work?
lifetime
What was the
membership.
structure?
It's a
I think it
touchy
was.
subject.
Ooh,
No, well, there was many iterations of it.
if you know Jason in business, you know that
So
There's
chalk
very
that up to
rarely-
not to do
Dumb-
discounts.
Dumb luck.
We're on 3. What are we? 8 minutes in. We're at 3 mistakes. There was there were a few iterations, but then the main one was probably like 4 or 5,000, maybe.
I was going to say 4,800.
Yeah, something like we tried to find a price range where it's like, if this person comes long enough, they're a good member. Many of them went on to be coaches. So it was like, okay, they're still coming in, but there are still quite a few. When I sold the gym, like that was something we had to rectify, like with the purchase of the gym. So that's why it was a mistake. But there are still people coming in that are on their lifetime memberships. And for reference, with Affiliate U, we've worked with a couple boxes that did lifetime memberships. When they started working with us, I was like, no. They're no longer lifetime members. You have to figure that out.
Yeah.
And I helped them navigate it.
I mean, maybe not immediately, but that has to be that can't hold. Like that's not sustainable.
Yeah. And not to mention,
it's illegal in a lot of
in
areas.
some states, like you have to be bonded and you have to put some money in escrow, etc.
We shouldn't mention which state Albany was in.
No, there's many.
There's
Albanies.
a lot of
Georgia,
Albany's.
perhaps?
There's a lot of Albany's, so I think we're good.
Albany, Africa.
At least one of them probably does
Dominican
not
has
have
Albany.
laws against lifetime memberships. Yeah.
But going back to Teach, funny story about Teach. He was the nickname Teach. What do you think he did? PE teacher.
He's I was gonna say like a race car driver.
PE
Longshore
teacher.
fisherman.
And I want to say he came in like 7th at regionals.
Well, he was a tremendous athlete.
Yeah. But like just doing CrossFit 1 day a week on top of his job, he had like 2 or 3 kids, and like 2009 or 10, he's hanging with Hobart, Austin Malleolo. Like he was in the final heat.
Hitting 1 watt a day.
Yeah, 1 watt a day. And it just goes to show, like, you can be pretty freaking fit, but also
That was before the sport had matured. And
I was going to say,
and
and
if
the
you were an
growth of the sport.
athlete prior to, you came in with a significant advantage.
But he's still, like I said, I saw on one of the social medias, he made it in the qualifier this year for the age division. I want to say he might be in his 50s now.
No. My guess is mid 40s, but
So maybe the 45s. Cool. So you got the morning class.
it was just great, and it was a good group of people. That was back when we were 1 year removed from you could just show up to the games and compete. So it was the first year that I was there. Was the first year there was a qualifier, and we sent probably 8 or 9 people from that morning class to the qualifier. That's how at least dedicated they were. And some of them ended up close to qualifying, like you said. Teach, Kim Hands.
Oh yeah, Kim. She was like in her
Laura
40s at the
Mirkovic.
time. Laura is in the book. She came in 17th at regionals.
Yeah, they all came very close to making a splash for years to come. And then a lot of people from that class ended up on our affiliate team, which went to regionals year after year after year.
Yeah, Kevin was basically, I would say, the captain, if you will, of our regional team. There's multiple.
We had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Got after it. I remember Jay gave me a compliment one time ever. He was like, "Hey, it's not easy to make a regionals team year after year after year. It's very impressive." And I still to this day remember that was the last compliment you gave me.
the last compliment I've ever given, for the record.
I believe that.
So you start coming in. What's kind of the next step? 9 months. I mean, you're just coming
here's
in
a
for
great
9
story.
months.
This is one of my favorite CrossFit.
Anytime you're about to say it's a great story, I'm gonna get nervous. for the
Unfortunately, it
remaining-
has nothing to do with you. So you
Oh,
can actually
okay.
you
I'm
can go to
back.
the bathroom if you need to.
Or fortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Murph, I'm sorry, not Murph, Kalsu. So
yeah,
we
that's a great
program
one.
Kalsu, for those who don't know, 100 thrusters for time at 135 every minute on the minute 5 burpees. So sometimes you can end up in burpee hell just doing burpees and not clicking off those thrusters. At the time, this is a long time ago, an elite time is in the mid-teens, but like we were hoping you could finish around 20 to 22. Some people can't finish at all. Scaling was optional back then. Some people would just go RX.
Unheard of.
And as a long femored athlete, my thrusters have always been one of my worst movements. So we program it. It's 5:45. I'm undoubtedly hungover. I come in and I get to like the 60s in Kalsu. I'm 60% done with the workout, but probably nowhere near the end. And I quit.
That's also one of the only workouts I've ever quit.
Really?
Yeah.
So I leave the class, but there's 20 people in the class. So the coaches notices I finished really fast. I go outside. I'm hot. It's probably 40 degrees out. I'm cooling off and steaming. I immediately am upset at myself for quitting. So I'm like, I'll go for a run. So I go for a mile run, cool off, come back. And he's like, the coach, Brett, goes, hey, man, you crushed that workout. 13 something. And I was like, yeah, man, I quit at like 68. And he's like, why'd you quit? You should probably go in there and finish. Because that was the mentality of CrossFit back then.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
go finish. And I was like, I'm good, dude. I think I quit CrossFit. And I walked out.
Yeah, when I said I quit, I didn't mean the workout. I meant all of this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I legitimately quit. So I didn't show up to class the next 2 days. And he emails me. And he's like, hey, dude, you've paid for your level 1 and it's this weekend. I know that you like hate CrossFit now, but you should probably go ahead and go to your level 1. And I had already organized to like become a coach. Like the Monday after my level 1, I was coaching 2 classes a day.
Oh, yeah. There was no like.
So
No internship, right?
No
That down, Katie. Yeah.
internship. It was not even no internship. It was like, you're hired. You have your level 1.
No screening
You're
process.
hired.
So I showed up to my level 1 back in the day.
Do you remember where it was?
Oh,
I
young
do.
Kate. Hey, young
It
Katie's
was,
doing work over here, by the way. She's
Katie's
like,
not stopped writing down.
Elizabeth,
there's
Elizabeth
30, there's
Darsh's
34
gym.
cities or towns in the world named
CrossFit
Albany.
Watertown.
CrossFit Watertown. Yeah. And they had this beautiful quote up that Greg Glassman, if you go to any affiliate, are we allowed to mention Greg?
Yes.
Kinda.
If
It's
we
like a
could-
touchy subject.
That if he could go to any, affiliate in the world, he would go to CrossFit Watertown. At some
Mhm.
point, he said it was the best CrossFit gym in the world. Chuck Carswell was the flow master. Austin Maliola was getting his level 1 next to me.
Oh, you took it with Austin.
That's the
right.
day I met Austin and started the courtship. All the OGs like Gilson was there. Pat, the Manimal Barber was there. So it was like the OG crew, and just hated it. Like Fran, day 1 Fran, I was like, no.
Is this the 3-day or the 2-day course?
2-day.
Two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, no, thanks. I'm not doing Fran. And Pat Barber's like, you're doing Fran. And I was like, no, I'm good. And like, so all the heats end and he calls me out and is like, this guy didn't do Fran. I do Fran solo, like in front of everybody.
This is, showing the lack of organization at the box.
And
The
professionalism.
same could be said at the seminar level. It wasn't as organized there.
It
either.
was very loose, to say the least.
Yeah, like that's
back in the
not so.
day.
It wasn't like, hey, you got to, heat 1, heat 2. It was like, who's up next?
Yeah. I do remember Austin definitely threw down like a 212 Fran at
Yeah.
his L1. But yeah, so that's the only reason I didn't quit CrossFit forever was because I'd already paid for my L1. Kalsu almost made me quit CrossFit. I came back and Jason didn't want to give me a coaching position. He's like, there's no classes. We don't need coaches. And I was like, make up a class. I'm coaching for free. Like, just make a class up. And so that's what he did.
What was it? The 7 a.m.?
It was the 7 and the 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so my first class, I had 3 people that are just like great members and were like, let's show up to the new class and support the gym. And they just showed up. Ab mat sit-ups were in the first class that I coached.
You remember that?
And I said, it was a lollipop moment for me. I was like,
Remember that TED talk?
of course
I
do.
remember you sending me that. There's a great TED talk that Kevin used to share, the lollipop moment. So if you guys are listening, go see.
Give it a bing.
It's a big dude kind of talking about lollipop moments. Yeah, I love that TED talk.
I didn't know how to do anything. I was like, I'm not a good coach. I'm going to teach the ab mat sit up for 5 minutes. Like CrossFit's about teaching virtuosity and movement.
Were they teaching that in the level 1 of that?
They were
point?
teaching in the level 1. So I knew how to teach it in class. And the preacher.
Oh yeah, what Bruce?
Yep.
We had a priest basically. He wasn't a priest, was he?
No.
But he was like
Yeah.
the preacher. We called him. I think we had
And then
teach and preach.
who was the female priest?
Abby, she married us.
Okay,
She
so-
married me and Roz.
So Abby and Bruce and
They were all 545ers, like Kevin said.
Jason Murphy showed up to my first class.
Murph came. Murph is the guy that lost 200 plus pounds.
And they pulled me aside after the class and they're like, no one's explained the ab mat sit up to us ever. Like, you're a tremendous coach. Thank you. And I was like, I guess I'm good at this coaching thing. So that's how I got it. That's how I got back into CrossFit, because I would have quit after
You're like,
CrossFit.
I've arrived. I've arrived. I'm here.
Kalsu was a standard for all of us were failing at it. And then we would do it repeatedly and then eventually complete it RX.
Yeah, that's a real
I
workout.
might quit that right now, to be very candid with you.
Oh, now it would be damn near impossible. But yeah, it's a great one. It's a great one to hit on at a hotel with like dumbbells. But
it's
anyway.
devastating.
so what was the kind of the next iteration? From what my recollection, you were doing that, and then you retired or left the military,
Mhm.
and you were like, I'm gonna leave.
Well, at that point, I was spending as much time as possible at the gym. I was probably spending 8 to 10 hours a day there, even
Yeah.
though I wasn't earning a dime from Jason. Go ahead and write that down.
Yeah, didn't
Not
pay
paying
his
your
coaches.
Um,
That's already
Yeah,
written
yeah.
down. You
But-
assumed it.
but yeah, you made an offer to me to come on full time, and I think the big thing is
What does
nobody
it? What
knew-
does a free offer look and sound like?
No,
Like-
this is I was gonna start paying him.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. And this is the part where the IRS will get mad at me because he was like, hey, here's the deal. Like, you can keep all your money for personal training and I'll pay you under the table. And, it's like all this stuff. And it was like,
I mean, basically, you're a criminal.
it was like, we can make this happen. Yeah. I mean, it was,
That was the one thing I did do early on was all the trainers were allowed to keep 100% of their personal training.
Write that down, Katie.
Is that a
So-
mistake?
yes.
But it was a mistake now. But back then it was like, I can't pay you a lot, but that was a great deal.
Yeah.
And Kevin, like he said,
I ran with it.
yeah, I mean, I remember that older
I
woman you were
ran
training.
with
What
it.
was her name?
Maureen Buckley.
Maureen. So you had, I mean, at one point you had like 4 or 5 clients a day.
I didn't save any of that money. All of that money got spent.
Kevin is a spender, yeah.
I'm a spender.
But you were charging something Kevin was always good at is like just knowing your value. You were charging $75 an hour back then.
So I tell
10
a
years
story a
ago?
lot. Yeah. I started at $80 an hour. And the first time I asked it was to Sasha.
Right.
That was the first time I asked someone to pay me per hour for my time. And I was so nervous. My heart rate went up. And I'm not an anxious guy. I'm not a nervous guy. I've been nervous 15 times in my life ever. This was one of those times. And he was like, sounds great. And I was like, oh, it's that easy? And I use it now, like my profession now is sales. I use it now talking to young salespeople. Like, you will get used to asking for money, and it's okay if the value you're providing is fair. It's not about like, let me swindle you. It's here's what I'm worth. Here's my rate. And they can either take it or not.
Right.
I brought on a nudist. You remember that?
Oh, at their house,
I trained a
right?
nudist in my own home, and I just
Did they
forgot-
train nude?
they trained in the nude, and I set the price for what made sense to me
I forgot about
to bring a nude guy into my house 3 days a week. And he paid me a lot of money. I was like, okay, cool. But like, set the
How
price.
did you get that nudist?
He called the gym and you said no. And I was
Is
like,
that true? I don't like these. I don't remember. him.
yeah. And I
I'm
said, can I
shocked
train
that
him?
you would say no.
I am
figured
shocked.
be.
That doesn't sound
figured
like
be
me,
one.
to be fair.
I figured you'd be like, oh,
He
absolutely.
may have wanted to train at the gym. I don't know.
He wanted to train at the gym.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes a little bit. I mean,
And he thought that would be okay.
Well, he was just asking. He was asking, is it possible? Is this something we could work on? And it
Let me ask you
wasn't.
this: when a new, yeah, clearly, when a nudist wants to train, he trained him at your house.
Yeah.
Did he show up nude?
So he was a businessman, and obviously won't use any names because I don't know if he wants people to know this, but he was a businessman. He was in finance. He had a bit of money, probably upper middle class. He would show up in a nice car, nice suit, come into the room. I was living with a girl at the time. He would say hello. She was usually cooking breakfast at that point. We'd come into the gym part of the house, shut the door. He would strip down. We'd have our, morning. How are you? How's it been? How's everything? And then we get after it.
did you get naked?
No. And the strange
Should've.
thing, he did ask me more than once, less than 5 times, like, you should consider like doing a session where you do it. And I was like, I'm good, dude.
Did you ever feel like he was trying to come on to you, or was he just comfortable naked?
So to give people a perspective, if you're not watching,
Kevin's a very good looking human
you're
being.
listening to this. Well, I wasn't going there. I'm much larger than Jay.
You're
Well,
larger than Fern,
yeah, yeah.
too.
Well, yeah. And in your defense, everybody's much larger than Jay. So
This man that I was training was about Jay size. So I never felt like he was going to like force anything on me.
You're right.
But I did feel, but again, this wasn't abnormal at that time, that he like wanted more. And I was like, okay, like, I'm never going to go there. He's allowed to like if I were hiring a female trainer and she happened to be hot, I would see that as a plus, but like, I'm not going to try anything. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
I kind of felt like that situation.
Gotcha.
But
Yeah, so you did it. But anyway, off topic, you had the nudist. I
Yeah.
remember because I never met him, and I remember you would come in and talk about him, and
Yeah. I trained him 3 days a week for probably 2 years.
and he
dear
was-
God,
can-
that's so much naked
He
training.
lost a lot of weight.
How
He
much
got
was he
really
paying you?
strong. He was paying me $200 for a 45-minute session.
This is what 2010, 11, 12.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
3 times a week.
Yeah.
so. I mean, if you're listening to this, I think
thousands of dollars.
Moral of the story is find
your
some
niche.
nudist clients. Yeah, find some nudist.
Nude-
200 back then is
Find
like
a nude finance guy
300
and train the
Bitcoin right
shit
now.
out of that guy.
Yeah. If I'd have just invested all of his training into Bitcoin.
Bitcoin,
we
you-
would not be
yeah.
having. You'd be on an island with a
Yeah.
bunch of nudists right now. So and then what were some other things going on at that time?
So, I mean, obviously we were all competing at that time, trying to get after it. You know, that was kind of,
And that's probably about when Austin came.
that's in and around the time that Austin was there. That was definitely one of the most fun times in my life, training with Austin every day.
We would all. That was one of my favorite times in box ownership. So
Mhm.
after the noon class, whoever coached it, rarely me, from about 1 to 3:30 would kind of be like a daily bro sesh.
Yeah.
It was you, it was me, it was Caleb,
Mhm.
Austin.
Usually that was it, but we had some people that would
But
pop
like I
in.
remember like times like Kevin, Josh, remember Josh Clem?
Yeah.
He like basically the young guys that didn't have either typical jobs like
Yeah.
bartenders or some females too. I mean, Teresa would show up because she had a sales job that she can be there, but it was just a fun time. Maybe some of the future coaches like Dean and
Yeah. But it was really the
Murph
four
would
of
be there,
us.
but kind of on the
Yeah.
we'd pick on Murph a little too much.
It was the four of us most days.
Yeah.
And it was tremendous because Austin changed my mentality. He's such a mental giant. And I don't want to give a shout out to Austin because I actually don't love him. I love him, but I don't love him.
It's a brotherly relationship
yeah,
there.
Yeah. But shout out to Marin. She's amazing. So he changed my mindset forever about what's possible. And not just in workouts, but like in life. But he taught it to me in workouts. And he would come in and say, like, hey, you should PR every day. And I'm like, cool, that's a great cliche, but it's not real. And then he would help me
All right,
understand.
Ted Lasso.
Yeah. And he would help me understand what that meant. Like, you actually should PR every day. And if your programming is varied enough and you're not front squatting every week for a 1 rep max, then you should PR every day. As long as your stuff's varied, you're doing whatever that CrossFit workout is that day at the highest level you've ever done it. That makes sense. And man, I was in tremendous shape when I was training with Austin and you guys at that point. It was by far the best CrossFit shape I've ever been in.
I mean, for reference for the listeners, you beat Austin Malleolo, and it wasn't every day, but it wasn't unheard of either.
Yeah, I don't want to overspeak that. Like, I didn't win very often.
But
Once
there's
a
some
month.
videos. I remember the Fight
Yeah.
Gone Bad video.
Once
'cause
a
you were
month,
rebounding
I
those-
would take him out. But I had my niche where I could hang with the very, very best.
Yeah.
But if you put any squats in the workout, I was immediately in last place.
That's when I would do well. I remember the year.
Speaking of which, we had squats in our workout this week.
Yes,
We
we
did.
I worked out with Jason.
I
For
don't
the
like to
first time.
brag. Come on, enough. What
What-
happened?
What are you bragging about?
Oh, nothing.
The
The
least
350
range of motion.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
um,
You have a permanent spot on the show
I-
whenever you want to come.
I remember the one year we went to regionals and it was like Team Amanda,
Mm.
and it was like to show you like how regionals has changed. Probably about 50% of the teams, the female couldn't do a muscle up.
Yeah.
Well, we were in the top, the final heat. So the top group is on day 2 of 3.
We could like almost make the games.
And at that point, top 3 were making the games. I think we're in 5th place. And we were coming into Amanda and Kia, who I love like
Now
a
she
sister.
owns actually a box called Kindred Strength. I think they bought Dean's
Yep.
box. Yeah.
So Kia was awesome. And we had practiced this workout. It was Team Amanda. So we do some snatches with the squats. We do some muscle ups and it would just interlace the guys and the girls, but each did Amanda on their own. So holy cow, we do these snatches. We get to the muscle ups. We start doing muscle ups and the rings were set at the men's gymnastics Olympic width
At the regionals,
at the
like
regionals.
which is I believe
It's a
16 and a
cubit.
half inches.
Well, I thought it's based on the size of the athlete.
Yeah, no,
It's
no,
a
no, no.
cubit.
This was,
Now it is.
This was back in the day.
Back in the day, it was a standard.
Yeah, it
set
was
of
typically
rings.
like knuckle to elbow.
Yeah,
which typically-
cubit is
yeah.
what you, yeah. But that's what it should be. But back then,
Back then they just said, what is it in the Olympics? And that was back when Ben was a big part of, Ben Bergeron was a big part of running it, and actually overheard the equipment people come up to him and said, what should we set the width at? And he's like, I don't know. And he's like, wait, just Google what the men's gymnastics rings
Google
are,
it.
set them there. And that was like a good thought. He was thinking on his feet. The problem is those straps are extremely long. We're talking
Mhm.
about men. We're talking about freak athletes, but also, you know, when you get to the games, the rigs back then weren't super tall. So the straps being relatively short usually is a good thing. But when you have that super wide set, Kia couldn't do any. So
Not to mention, this is after snatching. This is day 3 of competition.
yeah. So we actually sat there and, I knocked out my 9 or whatever muscle ups. And then I lifted her up to the rings 14 times to
Yeah.
attempt.
It was frustrating.
Yeah. So, but she's a tremendous athlete. That just happened to be a bad day. We had done that workout in practice and she had hit it many, many times.
You were a big part of the competition scene that we were throwing down too.
We used to let's talk about this for other affiliates. We used to host a CrossFit competition every quarter.
Yeah. We had
for 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, other than regionals, which was originally in our parking lot, the Tri-State Throwdown, we had, I believe, like March Man, and not to mention
And the Halloween.
the Halloween
Fall something. What do we
fall
call it?
face off.
Fall face off. But we'd have people traveling from 8-9 states to our gym every quarter for 3 years.
Well, some people that are still hanging around
Yeah.
too, like high level. I mean, we talked the other day, like Ben Kelly was there, Jason Layden was
Mhm.
there. Tanya Wagner competed at our event before she won the games. Heather Bergeron did as well.
Plumes.
Yeah, the Plumes. Yeah, I still hear from Lauren and Dave. Quite a. I mean, we saw David Osorio at the New Jersey Summit recently, and he showed up at the 2008 Throwdown, and
Can we talk about Dave for a second? He's been a hipster for so long.
He was a hipster before hipster was a thing.
Seriously.
I want to hear a funny. I don't think we've talked about this one on the podcast.
He's
It's
the
hilarious,
hippest guy I've
dude.
ever met.
Can we
It was-
talk?
I mean, why not?
So
Do you think he would be okay with it?
yeah, he wouldn't care. So we finish up the New Jersey Summit, which is like a gathering of the affiliates.
Mhm.
And, Fern put it great. It reminded us like a summit ended, place clears out, and it's just the owners kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
Like that was always a great time for us. Fern still has it at his box. So it's Fern, myself, Dave, the owners of Gorilla Fitness.
Mm.
Greg, you remember Greg?
I do.
He was there and his partner, I think his name was Joe.
I believe it is Joe.
Yeah. So we're like finally calling Uber. We're getting ready to leave. And Osorio comes
We're
out.
like sitting over on the wall by ourselves.
Just
It's-
the two of
I
us.
mean, out of nowhere. We weren't talking with him or anything. Like he just comes marching across the room.
And he comes up to us like, hey, you guys into psychedelics?
But it wasn't even a whisper. He was a minimum of 25 to 30 feet away. He's like, hey, are you guys into psychedelics? And I was like,
But as the funny part was like he was like, hey, you guys want a protein bar? Like it was like that, like that, like
it was
like
it was not discreet. It was not anything. It was like, hey, you guys into psychedelics? And I was like, right now? Like at this very moment?
and then he just went into a lesson on different psychedelics.
Yeah, I was like,
No psychedelics were had,
Yeah.
for the record.
yeah, that's true.
But wasn't that always a fun time at the end of like a
Yeah.
competition? Like we would always be the last ones there. It's like 2 a.m. or a party.
Usually, I would crack my first beer before announcing the final event of a competition.
Yeah.
That was kind of a trademark. Is like I was always the guy announcing the events. I had a lot to do with the programming of them, and I would kind of like get everybody together, and we had these epic finals. We had a final one time we should talk about.
I was just about to say we would just
And-
watch the Rogue Invitational,
Yeah.
and it was similar to that. You tell it. You probably remember it better.
So it's
than I
definitely a
do.
trademark. If you look at any of those videos, I was always drinking a beer while announcing the last event, which is not a homage to Castro being a mess at the last event of something, but that's just how we did it. So we had an event that was called the Eliminator,
Yeah.
and we took the top 10 into it, and we had 10 mini wads, and each wad would end in the 10th person, the last place person being dropped from that. And you would just sort of like work your way up, and it was a
It
winner take all.
That's
demolished. Do you remember who won?
I do. So
Let's see if
Dan
we-
Tominski
That's yeah. I was gonna say
was the
Tominski, yeah.
male.
He was an animal back then.
And
dude.
who was
Dude, it was like, I mean, like the workout started quickly, like 3 rope climbs for time.
Right.
But by like the end, it was like Fran, and then it was like,
Oh my
like they were legit, like they were.
Well, we had the cargo net. So at one point,
Oh yeah, we had a full cargo net
we had like
in the gym.
cargo nets and deadlifts for time. Like, it was
Because
wild.
as we were getting the group smaller, we can expand the movements.
Yeah. At one point, it was like 10 muscle ups and so,
Yeah.
uh,
Seaman was hanging tough too.
Siemens a beast.
I don't remember what female.
So do you remember
sure-
the
sure
and I
it's
don't remember
online.
her name. We don't need to say it if we do, but there was a female who was a games level competitor whose coach pulled them out mid event. So it was like, we were like, okay, the 5th workout of the final. And he was like, no,
No,
that's
we're
it.
done.
That's it.
Really?
And he pulled his.
I don't remember
his girl
that.
out. She
Yeah.
was. She was definitely at the end of a long weekend in a bad place, and he probably made the right choice. But we did not think it was the right choice for him to pull her out at that time.
I'm sure
He went on
you
to
heard-
coach Grid League and win a couple championships. So I'll just leave
so
that.
he's
I'll
a
just leave
smart
that
dude.
in there.
Okay.
Where was there prize money here?
There
Actually,
was at
that
that
was
one.
yeah, there was. I remember writing the checks at the end.
How much?
I mean, maybe like 250 or something.
No. It was definitely 4 figures.
Was it?
Yeah, it was definitely 4 figures.
How do you not remember this, dude?
Dude, I don't
'Cause
remember,
I remember that's how we
so much.
That's how we justified the Eliminator. We're like, hey, they got to earn their money. It's also how we got people
Oh,
at that
yeah.
point.
Show up.
I remember we
to
got
show
some
up.
big names like Dan and like you mentioned, I don't even know who you're talking about, but we did have like big names there
Yeah.
competing. Yeah, I don't honestly from like 2007 to 14 when I owned it's a blur. It's just a complete blur to me.
It was a wild time.
Were you
Like,
doing psychedelics?
I was not, I mean, I did not really drink. I mean, we were drinking a bit of tequila maybe, but I wasn't like heavily drinking and I certainly wasn't doing drugs. It was just go. It was like nonstop. And like traveling for seminars, like I was on staff towards the end of that,
yeah.
taking seminars as often as I could.
Plus, let's talk about the size of the gym. I mean, we had 700 plus members.
at its peak.
We were churning 20 to 30 new members every 2 weeks into our on ramp.
And Kevin was a big part of the big change into the 1 month on ramp. That was pretty much your baby.
So many people joining that we could afford to do a 1 month on ramp and a full class dedicated to it. And the class would cap out at 25 and it would get full. And we had to start running 2 of those a month.
So around that time, we had the second affiliate, and we would do like one would start the first Monday, and then one would start like the third Monday or whatever.
How far apart were they?
We would run them every month, but they would. So basically,
The two
the
affiliates.
furthest
The two
other
affiliates,
two
yeah.
affiliates, 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it wasn't a long shot for somebody to like be able to bounce back
For that
and
first
forth,
month.
Right.
Yeah.
But then they would potentially, I mean, Albany CrossFit was the one mostly growing. So it looked more like they'd have to go to Clifton Park for their on ramp and then join. I think we were calling it boot camp at the time.
Yeah. We called it 9 different things, elements,
Yeah. But
foundations.
I mean, that was like people would graduate that and basically have their L1.
Oh yeah. We taught that intense. And I would teach that class and holy cow. I mean, you were going to 15 CrossFit classes in a month and I had 6 or 7 good coaches helping me with those classes.
That's where so when we finally did have our coaches intern, it was mandatory that they did at least one of those with Kevin,
yeah.
right?
And so I'd have, 6 or 7 real coaches and then 3 or 4 interns. So we were like 2 to 1, 3 to 1 on like a coach to athlete ratio. And we just kind of made it mandatory. Like, hey, if you want to get slots on the schedule, like you got to put time in on this foundations. And like, I remember Alex.
It was at like 7:30 at night. It wasn't like an ideal time.
What's Alex's last name?
Cadmus.
Alex Cadmus, one of the most beautiful squats ever.
He married Allie
Yeah.
Meach.
Mm-hmm.
They have they have at least one kid now.
They have 2 now.
They're in
Well,
one of
or
the.
she's on the way.
Yeah. I think they're in. I want to say one of the Carolinas.
But one of the wild things about Albany CrossFit is so big is that we could literally have enough coaches to be like, who are the true perfect movers and put those people in front of the new people. Same way L1 was doing back then. Like you had to be a perfect mover and still today to be able to demonstrate that stuff.
I prove that wrong most Saturdays
Yeah.
during the squats lecture.
Let me see if I could do a butt wing. My favorite thing about Austin Malio on Instagram is him at seminars being like, let me see if I could do this move wrong.
Austin has the same 5 jokes that he tells
Right.
at every seminar. How many marriages do you think came from Albany CrossFit?
At least a dozen.
How many
Yeah.
divorces?
Oh, at least a dozen.
I can't think of one. Can you?
Divorces?
Divorces?
I'm sure I can think of it.
I
I
got-
know there's a lot of breakups. Maybe they weren't divorces.
I
but-
got divorced right before showing up.
Yeah, I never met your first, or I think I met her once, but I didn't.
You
know
met her
you
once
very well. Yeah,
at the Stephen Memorial WOD.
yeah.
that
But
was,
that was
uh,
later on.
Yeah.
One of our coaches' husbands passed away. I put this video up. We play the song "Soul Shine" to it. That was like kind of one of we had quite a few traditions. I would say Stephen was one. We had a great Memorial Day Murph every year.
Memorial Day Murph started at Albany CrossFit.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Josh
Yeah.
started it. Dr. Josh was part of the Murph story.
Mhm.
Like he was one of the paratroopers that went in. Awesome dude. Like there are a handful of members that I remember their first day they came in, and Dr. Josh was one of them, probably because he's about my size. But a great dude. He started Murph. We would do Fran every New Year's day.
Yeah.
And just tons of other events, all the competitions you mentioned. You know what? Another one you did that was great. Remember CrossFit for Hope?
That's exactly where I was going.
Yeah.
The first year that CrossFit dropped Fight Gone Bad and brought in CrossFit for Hope.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. So tell everybody so that was when they switched off of that and they're like, well, we still want to do this fundraiser. Let's just give the money to St. Jude.
Yeah. St. Jude Children's Hospital.
And Jason was at the regionals in Ohio with me, Murph.
Oh yeah.
Caleb.
We took the road trip.
We run into GG and GG's all excited about St. Jude fundraiser. And Jason says, we're going to win it. Our affiliate's going to put everything
Called
we
my
can.
shot.
Hold on. Don't get too braggadocious. We're going to put everything we can towards it. And then looks to me and he's like, we got to win. Can you make that happen?
You're the head coach, so make that work.
No, I swear to you, because you heard a story last night that we're not sharing here. I swear to you, I was like, look, he looked at me. He's like, you're the head of fundraising. And I was like,
New title.
Put
He's
that
like,
down as one of the good things. I did delegation.
we threw
Somehow I managed.
making up.
you know what though? I'm going to do you a solid.
Making up business titles in the round.
I'm going to circle this back to you being a nice guy.
All right.
So
Hold on. I want to go back to that inflow. If you
Wait,
were
I want to go to the nice guy thing. What do you got?
we want people to see you as a nice guy. If you were to go back to that right now and you had that same influx of people coming into the gym,
So we're going back a couple minutes. Okay.
right? What would you change about that?
Where you going? You got to say the nice guy story. You
He
going to the
quit.
bathroom? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, you're on the spot, bro. What would you change about it?
Oof.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, we were.
So, like, how many people a month were coming in?
I would say Kevin's probably right. We were getting like 20. Well, here's the bigger issue. It was our retention.
Right.
Right, like
That's
we
separate,
were
separate topic,
gaining
right? But
25
my point is, what would you change about that? Because I think the most I've ever done in 1 month is 33.
This was month over month. Every month we were like, it was not like, oh, are we going to fill up on ramp? It's like, we're going to fill up on ramp. What are we going to do? I would go to what you and I coach now.
Okay.
I think
I've done 33 with that format.
with our current format.
Correct.
Yeah, I think it would be an opportunity. Look, because those people were paying quite a bit of money to be in the onboarding because it was a month.
Right.
So
Well, ours is not a month, but
no, but I'm saying back then.
right. What were we
Kev-
charging? What were we charging for that?
Well, I don't remember.
Okay. So
150, he
exactly
says.
what we were charging.
Right. So
Or
150
roughly.
for the month, plus then they would roll into their membership, which I
Right.
think was about 180. So it's maybe
Okay.
even a little less to do call it boot camp, which was the 3 times a week. I probably would have said, hey, it's 150. You get 3 sessions with one of our coaches, and I would have let them keep it at the time. Like
Right.
nowadays, I know like the gym would have made more. So I probably would have tried to charge more than 150. Like, hey, it's 225. It's 3 one-on-one sessions with Kevin. He keeps 150 of it. The gym keeps some, and then you
Right.
join, the gym. Because the one thing I will say about that boot camp period, I still see so many of those, like the people that are still doing CrossFit in the Albany area, whether it's at Albany CrossFit or another box, many of them were that boot camp period. And I think you're getting just such complete buy-in from those people, and they understand CrossFit. Like I look back, like think about Karen and Chad, right? They own a
Affiliate
box
owners,
now.
very successful affiliate owners.
They own 2 affiliates. I see Tristan for some reason in that all the time. Remember like Nick Germano?
Just got engaged.
Yeah, and he's still doing. I
That's
think he's.
another Albany CrossFit wedding. Both of those people.
Oh
are
yeah,
from,
Paige. Is that who he married?
No, Paige is different.
Brittany.
Brittany. She was a Clifton Park member.
Yeah, but he's moved around a ton, and he always finds a CrossFit. Adam, Porto,
Mhm.
like all those people that are still longtime CrossFitters did that boot camp. So I think there is value there, but I think
But this boot camp is your onboarding process.
yeah. When
at
I
that
say
point,
boot camp, it was 3 times a week
for 4 weeks.
for 4 weeks. And to be clear, what we were saying earlier is we had 2 affiliates, so we staggered when they started.
So
And then
could they go
eventually-
back and forth during that time frame?
No, because they were we let them make up some here and there, but they were like day 1 here was really like day 7 at the other
Right.
one. And then I do want to say at one point we even had a morning one going.
Mhm.
So we had a early one too for those people. So we had like 3 running at the same time.
Right. But let's talk about the business side of it from a financial point of view. What was happening is that we weren't watching the numbers close enough and the 10 years close enough because we were bringing on so many new members. We didn't realize that we were losing a lot of old members.
Yeah, that's what I was saying when you were gone. Like our retention was terrible. Like our churn was so high.
Extremely high. And I think we all know better to know that now. But one of the big problems of all of those people coming in, I mentioned I had 6 real coaches with me, is we weren't putting enough real coaches in the other class. We were putting so much
on the new people,
so much value in this tremendous thing, because it kind of reminded us all of our level 1.
We enjoyed coaching that too. And for the coaches, it was how they developed.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of like level 1s. Like you would literally watch one.
Yeah.
And then you would demo at one or help out at one. And then by the end, it was like, okay, you're giving the lecture, like, because I don't remember exactly, but I think it was like warm up, couple movements, workout, lecture.
Mm-hmm.
And the lectures were like literally what is CrossFit lecture? What is fitness, nutrition?
Still to this day. I mean, I haven't coached CrossFit or been in CrossFit forever. All of those lectures are still like just ingrained in my mind. Like I can get up and give the what is intensity like now, but 2 other people important to point out. Michelle Sano came through that.
Yeah, she's
ended up being a tremendous athlete.
She went to regionals. Yeah.
And Caleb's wife, Lexi, came through that as well.
Yeah.
That's
Caleb was my former partner for Clifton Park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's probably plenty that we can name other ones. Scene, I know, went through it. Renee went through it. Quite a few people that I just see on social media.
Yeah.
But you weren't saying I was a nice guy?
I don't remember this one.
Yeah, I don't either, actually.
Oh, fundraising. So, I mean, we did a tremendous amount of fundraising, and this is probably an important thing to shout out to any affiliate owner. If you're fundraising and you're pulling money from your members that go to a fundraiser, you're not pulling out of the same pocket that they're paying you with. So you really should use your power as an affiliate owner to leverage the need of your members to have a greater calling in one way or another towards a local fundraiser would be great. The $100 they give you a year towards whatever fundraising you're doing, they don't hold that against you. In fact, they give
I think to an extent, I think we were asking too much at some times.
Yeah, but let's not talk about that. Like, yes,
I think you can go too far.
I don't think that's the point that Kevin's making. Like frequency matters.
Yes.
But he's talking about people just have a general problem with asking for other.
Well, and that was, I don't want to toot my own horn here for real, but I learned that from Coach Glassman. Like Coach Glassman was always giving back.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was part of the CrossFit culture. I was like, as soon as we're successful, we need to give back. And part of that looked like I was discounting people.
Yeah.
And part of it looked like if somebody really wanted to coach and become a full-time coach, I did my best to make it happen.
Yeah.
And then part of it was charity.
Yeah. And if you're a box owner now and you don't have a charity,
you should
find one.
Yeah.
And it really should be local.
Best Hour charity.
I mean, we teach that now.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying you can donate to the Best Hour charity.
Yeah, no, this is like that's
529C.
No, yeah.
Was that a college fund?
That's a college fund, yeah, but nice try.
Madison's college
You're
fund.
thinking 501c3 is what I think you're referring
But
to.
in that year, we did win the fundraising challenge for the affiliates. We raised more money than any other affiliate in the world for CrossFit for Hope.
They sent me to St. Jude's, yeah.
And they gave us a luxury box.
With St. Jude's, they think you were there for treatment.
no, they sent me to like visit with like I remember it was
Also-
like Cariana was there.
Also no S, St. Jude.
St. Jude Children's Hospital, you're right. It was awesome going there, and I'll tell you what, by going there, it made me want to do it again, which we did.
You did.
Yeah. But I don't think you said about the
nice
it's the other nice thing.
Well, so when we won, the award was that you got a luxury box at the CrossFit Games.
Oh yeah.
And that was the year of my 30th birthday. And so Jason was already working as a judge at the CrossFit Games.
I was doing the equipment still.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so he gave me, hey, dude, that's your box. Like you led the fundraising. And so for my 30th birthday, I flew out my dad, a bunch of friends flew in. I had some friends in Cali. Like I literally,
I did that. I honestly have no recollection of that either.
I genuinely had my 30th birthday at the CrossFit Games.
Sounds like
What
me,
year
though.
is this?
I can believe it.
So I can tell you, cause I know how old I am. That would have been 2012.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
about
So
right.
that was at StubHub.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was still.
okay.
It was still.
Yeah. And it was a blast. It was amazing.
Is that the first year or the second year was there?
No, StubHub first year was 2010.
11.
7, 8, 9 was the ranch, and then 10 because I only remember that because Austin was at our at the games.
Yeah, but 10. Yeah, you're right. So 10, but it wasn't like very well attended.
Oh, that was the year they did the sandbag and they actually went through the stands.
right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
to show you that it was pretty empty.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember who won that event?
The sandbag one?
Yeah.
I remember quite a few people dumped their wheelbarrow. I don't remember
Yes.
who won.
Tommy Hackenbrook.
9th place in 2010.
Tommy Hackenbrook constantly working, constantly moving. Tommy broke the record by 40 seconds.
Oh, that makes you're right. Yeah, you're right.
That's where he cut his teeth on.
I remember he would always win those type of workouts.
Yeah, he would always win the guys that are like that were
Yeah,
for
he
big
won
guys.
the rowing, driving the stake into the ground event
Yep.
years before that.
Yeah.
And then he went on to win the Stone Cold Steve Austin Ranch Challenge. I don't know if you guys watched that on the
Oh,
country
he,
music.
yeah.
He won that, was like the champion of the season.
Yeah.
Which is like
Yeah,
a bunch
he won
of
the whole
crazy
thing.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
That
there's like
makes
there was
sense.
like weird like wrestling and all sorts of obstacle
CrossFit
courses.
Ute.
Yeah. I mean, they won the affiliate cup.
They did.
So, going back to the charity, I want this is a funny story that I think only you will remember. Remember we drove to Ohio. We road tripped it. Like they were like, Jay, we're flying you to Ohio because I was part of the regional team. And I was like, no, put my money towards a rental car. And it was like you, me, Caleb, and Murph.
Mhm.
We road tripped there, and
Who was flying you? CrossFit?
because I was in charge of the regionals.
Oh, got it.
So they would put every year back then, they would be like, we want you to go to a regionals before yours.
right.
But I was like, no, we're going to rent a car. And we drove from New York to Ohio.
Mhm.
We had a good time. Then remember we stopped at that wing place
I
on
do.
the way home.
Well,
And-
it's Quaker Steak and Lube. It's
Quak-
a very famous place. Anybody who's ever road tripped Middle America knows it.
So our guy Murph, we were like, Murph, you got to eat the hottest wings on this menu.
Mhm.
And they're not like kind of hot. They're like the hot
Slap
wings
your mama
challenge.
hot, or
Yeah,
slap-
slap your mama hot. So he does them.
I just want to say this is when bullying was still allowed.
Yeah. Yes.
'Cause
Yes. It's like anything. Like you can't cancel me now for bullying 10 years ago.
Oh, I don't think you know how canceling works. Yeah.
so Murph does it and he's just pounding water. So we get going and
there's an important caveat. Jay was so ahead of the game when it came to video blogging.
oh yeah, this
that
is
every
on.
single piece of what he's describing was on YouTube at one point. We were shooting all of this live for content back then.
So we're driving like 30 minutes in, and all of a sudden Murph's like, I gotta pee. And we were like, no, you're not peeing.
Sorry. Allowed.
But
So I was driving. I eventually pulled off at a tollway and I talked to the sweet toll
we
lady.
talked to the toll lady for like 10 minutes
Yeah.
just to make Murph wait longer.
We end up getting to this little town. We park and this large man who has to pee runs through the parking lot. This little guy, aka Jason Ackerman, with a video camera giggling like a little goblin, follows him in. Me and Caleb and I casually walk into this bar about 40 seconds after them. And we say, did you see two guys run in here?
One with a camera.
He goes, big guy, little guy. I go, yeah. He goes, I think they made it to the women's room. So we peek the women's door open. There's nobody in this whole bar. We're the only four people in there. Other than
It's like a
bartender.
Sunday, yeah, maybe a Monday at this point. Yeah.
And there's Jason getting footage.
My goal was, like you said the other day, to put up new content. I was trying to be like CrossFit.
Yeah.
Every day. And in my defense, like there was a period of time where CrossFit was putting up funny videos.
Mhm.
Like remember the videos with Savan,
Mhm.
like going against girls.
Yeah.
And like CrossFit was like that culture and that vibe. And another story, we did Drunk Fran.
Yeah.
And we had a member, I don't want to say his name, come in like angry. And he was like, this is my dojo. You remember who this was?
Yep.
And he was like, how dare you drink inside the walls of this place and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't think you get CrossFit. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, it's fun. Like, it's not, and he wound up staying but it was an important, like, it was a little eye opener to me. Like, all right, maybe we're taking this partying thing too far, but we were just having a good time.
Well, so after I left Albany CrossFit, I opened my own gym in the suburbs of Chicago, and we would throw parties occasionally. And I would always go into those parties with the nostalgia of the parties we used to have, and just knowing that it would never get to that level, but part of me wishing it would. And then my going away party after I'd like sold my piece of that we had a proper Albany CrossFit ripper in your honor.
Well, and that was a mistake we made too. Like, and I wrote about it in the book. Like, we were trying to do parties every month.
Every month. That was a mandate.
Yeah, it was like every month we had a party.
But you're not just saying like show up to the gym, BYOB. Themed parties, decorated parties.
That was another one of your responsibilities.
Yeah, it was. It sure was. I did a lot.
But going,
Well,
but I
owe
want
you
to.
a big thank you though.
I'll take
because
it. What is it?
Now that I work in corporate America, there's nothing I can't handle. My job is extremely easy.
That was my look. That was my goal.
I work normal
Preparing
hours,
you.
and I feel like I have so much free time. It's
But
really amazing.
I want to talk about two parties that you were a big part of. The talent show is one of them.
Wow.
I remember, and this was going back to the St. Jude fundraiser.
Yeah.
The part of the reason we raised so much money was Kevin. We did a talent show. We did a silent auction.
Mhm.
We did just a straight up
We
auction.
did a bachelor auction.
We did a bachelor auction. I remember, this is how bad I was. Mistakes, Katie. I came into the gym and I hadn't been there. I don't know if I wasn't there all day, but at least since the morning. And it was like, it didn't look like a gym. Like,
It looked like
it looked like a
event.
club.
Yeah, it was an event.
Like the boxes were a stage. We had two spaces at the time. Like there were like ribbons and all like
string lights, like
table set up. Like,
music.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So the talent show was awesome.
I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday, or at least this weekend, when they were talking about how they do their, who was it? Anyway, but they said they were doing their holiday parties and stuff like that off site, and they're like, now we do them in the gym. I'm like, you should do them at the gym, and you should deck the place out. You should
Well,
have,
you do
like,
a good job
lighting-
of that currently.
lighting and all that stuff. But
I-
it has a cool vibe though. Like it allows the members in the community to see the gym through a different lens.
I agree with that, but I loved the other one I was going to say was our prom. We had like a gala every year.
Right. And you know where we got that from? We got that from the Plumes.
Were they doing that?
They did that
Shoreline
first.
CrossFit in
So
Connecticut.
give them a shout out.
Yeah.
And if you haven't had Dave on this, Dave's an absolute
We should get Dave and Lauren on. They
awesome.
can talk OG stuff.
Yeah.
awesome people.
I'll reach out to them.
Absolutely love those guys. They started doing that first, and we saw it on Facebook. And
Is that where it was?
It was like, wow, that looks amazing because they all get to get dressed up, and like, how fun is it to see all your people of CrossFit
Right.
in formal wear?
Right. Dressed
Yeah, I
up.
mean that was like
you don't recognize people.
well, and we have a lot of our affiliate U clients do that. But I give them the same kind of advice that we had. It was like you go to a Holiday Inn was basically what we were at. You rent their room. People can get hotel rooms if they want to drink, but we had a full on DJ. Like, don't throw your phone on there. Like, you want a DJ. You want we had Stan, the
Yep.
photographer, like set up the photo booth.
Get a photo booth.
A photo booth. I think the way we saved a little bit of money, and correct me if I'm wrong, you do like an hour open bar and then it turns into beer and wine.
Yeah.
So it doesn't become outrageous because the members are paying for this.
Yeah, I think you should charge
Yeah,
for
no,
something
it's
like
like
that.
50 bucks a head, maybe 75 these
Minimum
days.
should be 25.
Yeah. But then
Minimum.
what we did that was my favorite part is the award ceremony. It was like the Dundies, right?
Right.
But it was like I think the ones we used to do were Rookie of the Year, Member of the Year, Spirit of the Gym, and then I think we wound up going to a Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there's a Hall of Fame.
So, and that was like you had to be there for X amount of time.
Do you want to hear a terrible story about Jason Ackerman?
Please.
No.
Yes.
So I
Did you
leave.
say what I said? That was nice.
So I leave Albany CrossFit and open my own affiliate.
Oh no, I know what you're gonna say.
Jason and I are not on best terms. Like, I left on not great terms, and some time had passed, some distance was between us, and he's like, "Hey man, you should definitely come back to this year's award banquet. We would love to see you." So I come back and I'm like, "Oh, like Jason's gonna induct me to the Albany CrossFit Hall of Fame. Like, I'm happy he finally realizes that I deserve this." And so I'm literally sitting there with a drink. I'm absolutely smashed, actually, and
But
he's like, there's only one inductee to the Hall of Fame, and I can't think of anyone who deserves this more. Laura Mirkovic, come on up. And I was like, I just started drinking so much at that point.
Why am I here?
Yeah.
For the record, you did tell me this after, but I didn't know that I wasn't trying to trick you into coming to the Hall of Fame, but if that,
don't-
I think I
don't
was
believe you.
I was only there for 2 and then I sold it.
Yeah.
I do think if I would have been there for a third or fourth, you would have gotten inducted.
I'll call shot.
You know what? I want to take this opportunity right now, cameras. I'd like to induct Kevin.
It's a CrossFit.
Houston.
It's a best hour CrossFit. You're the first inductee to best hour CrossFit.
Right.
Not posthumously, you're still alive, but the gym might not be.
It's a great lesson. Obviously, I've by any
never
definition,
assume. Don't assume.
Yeah, don't assume. By any definition, I deserved to be in that, but deserves a terrible word. So like, don't use deserve. Don't think deserve. Don't assume. Like, just live.
I do think that was before I became a little more abundance. I felt like any coach that left was dead to me.
Oh yeah.
And you didn't even leave to open a gym down the road. You were literally in Illinois.
Well, on purpose. Yeah.
And to get away from me.
And let's be honest, I could have opened a gym across the street and done some damage, but didn't want to do it that way. Didn't want to turnkey, member base because that felt dirty. But can we talk about that from an affiliate perspective? How to cheer for your coaches who need to move on, how to enable your coaches who need to move on.
Well, I think it's scary, but I think, that's part of being, in air quotes, a grown up. But I think there's being adult. And then I think it's like training, right? Like you can be an adult with a training age of 0. I think you can be an adult with an entrepreneurial age of 0, which means you're basically a toddler. You don't know how to make decisions. You don't know how to deal with conflict. You don't know how to plan for things or do anything that would resemble a strategic, outline for what you want to do. And I think recognizing that, but looking at it through the lens of an athlete and be like, hey, how long have I been doing this? I'm doing it 3 years. I'm like, you're in first grade of entrepreneurship. And getting to that point, I think is when you get to high school, college as an entrepreneur, when you become okay with that, because realistically, if you've brought somebody to the point where they're moving on to bigger and better things, well, then you can do it again. And there will be takers for those spots, but I don't think anybody skips that portion where you don't want people to leave and you feel slighted and you have animosity towards them. I think everybody goes through that.
Yeah.
We talked about that a lot with John.
On it. But he admitted that he was that was his biggest regret, that he said all those people who went on to really great things, those relationships were broken.
And it's funny as you're saying that there's this silly expression, if you're happy and you know it, thank your ex. Have you ever heard that expression?
I have not.
It's as Kevin's saying this, I'm thinking to myself, Fern, you get the best me. This is because
this the
of
best
Kevin.
You?
Yeah, this is it. You got, because of the mistakes I made with Kevin and all my other coaches, you have, the best partner
He's
possible.
not saying a good Jay. He's saying the best Jay.
The best
Right.
Jay, yeah, the best.
So in
But
training age, you're
you have the
grade.
partner you're so proud of, and you tell me how much you love me, that type of stuff.
Are we talking about Katie?
But I do think, but all jokes aside, I learned from these mistakes. Partly I think Kevin was probably angry with me. I was angry with Kevin for no reason, and I think we've become friendlier over the years because of we both.
How long was that tension for?
Well, that's what I was about to say. There was real time. There was 5+ years between.
We never didn't talk though.
Well,
we also
sort
were.
of.
No, but you were in Illinois. I think I was in Florida.
Yeah.
Life was going on.
Yeah.
I never felt like I wasn't talking. I would assume if I had to look back, we probably text sporadically. But then I think there came a point in both of our lives where we were that person helped me level up. And I don't remember specifically when that was, but I know I saw you in Chicago that time. And I remember when I saw you in Chicago, I think I was there doing a nutrition seminar.
Yeah.
I remember, I don't know if I was talking to Caleb or not, but I remember telling somebody, I was like, man, Kevin, I really like Kevin now. And I think part of it is we weren't working together.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you a mistake that I made, Katie, if you want to write it down. In my head, I wanted people to give me better ideas, but really I wanted yes men. And I think most of the time I butted heads with Kevin. It was because he simply wasn't being great idea, Jay.
Yeah, he was that's dumb.
Yeah. He'd be no, or here's a better idea, or let's not do this. And
And
all
you had
the
a lot of people who were willing to tell you yes.
yes, it was, and that's why we had events every month, or plenty of other mistakes.
But I think the other thing is the reason we're close now and we're fairly close is because I don't care about your feelings. Like I tell
You were one of the only people that like message me regularly about my social media, and I'm an influencer,
yeah,
so it's not easy.
you have a lot of followers.
No, but you'll be like, this is dumb.
I sent him a thing this morning. It was somebody made a meme. It was like referring to yourself as an influencer is like saying that you're handsome.
No, but Kevin will routinely like, and some I listen to, some like I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, you were like, this iPad thing is lazy.
Mhm.
And I was like, I don't care.
You should check out Coach Downloads. They're definitely not.
And he was right about it, but I was like, I'm not trying to like do anything. Like I'm just putting out things. But point is, you are willing to tell me that.
Yeah. And you're at a place now where you're willing to accept it. Like I was always willing to tell you, right? But like that's why we disagreed for so long. But now, like I called you the other day to tell you did something well, and you're like, that's useless. Don't tell me things I do well. Like, give me more negative feedback, right? Because you've grown enough now that you appreciate negative feedback.
It was like we had an interview with Mike the other day at CrossFit Yakarhu.
Oh yeah,
and that's
yeah.
what he was saying. He's like, feedback's only useful if you implement it.
Right. It's like coaching.
This reminded me of something I don't know how it's not on my list of things to talk about because I have nothing on my list to talk about.
Is it positive? Because
it is positive.
I feel like this is a bit of a downer episode.
Is it really? No. Most of them are more fun.
No,
so
there's usually more nice things said about me.
I want to, and I, like I said, it just popped in my head that I should share this. When I left CrossFit, I went
after Calsu.
No, the second time, the 19th time I left CrossFit. When I sold my gym, when I stopped working out CrossFit style for years and years and years, my mentality had to change. And I think there's probably a lot of CrossFit box owners who are going through what I was going through right before I sold, which is like a feeling of burnout, the feeling of like, where do I go next? Feeling of like, I'm a great damn coach in this small town, making changes in life, but I feel like I want more. The other thing, those are all like, I think healthy things to think. The other thing I was feeling, and I didn't realize it until I left the gym world, was a tremendous amount of hubris. When you're a CrossFit gym, you have successful humans walking in your door every day, doctors, lawyers, teachers, amazing people who are doing amazing things in the world, and they do everything you say, exactly how you say to do it, exactly when you say to do it. And for me, after years of doing that at what I would very confidently say at an extremely high level, I felt like I was in charge of everything. And it was affecting my friendships outside of CrossFit. It was affecting my relationships. It was affecting my family interactions, because the rest of the world, if I wasn't talking about fitness, didn't think that I knew the answer to everything. But in my head, I didn't know why. And I had to get some separation from that and really gain a lot of humility. Like, let's all just keep in mind, like, you're great at the things you're great at, and you're not great at things you're not great at. And just because someone sucks at fitness doesn't mean that they're not great at 6 other things that they contribute to the world. And we should just be a little more humble as fitness practitioners and remind ourselves that, like, even though this is the best hour of their day, this is the only hour of the day where you're the expert. The rest of the day, they're the expert, and they're out there doing incredible stuff.
Well, that's why they show up, because they're not there to be the expert. They're there to take a break.
Mm-hmm.
And they're there to be told what to do so they can turn their brain off so that they can relax a little bit.
Yeah.
And you guys would probably agree, but like all of the people that are either like mentors of mine or that I look up to, if you dig into their personal life, they're always doing something new. They're always in student mode, even though they are quite literally a world-class expert in their thing, but they're outside of that full student mode.
Yeah.
And I think everybody should kind of adopt that mentality. That's what I'm always trying to like do, like get into shooting or jiu-jitsu or stuff like that, because I don't want to be the expert all the time. Like I want to learn, I want to go back into student mode, because I think that will continue to help me evolve as a teacher, because I'm going to learn something through somebody who's teaching me something about firearms that I'm like, oh, that's an interesting way to teach that. And I will figure out how to flip that over and say, well, how can I use that to help teach something in fitness or for business or whatever it is. But it's good to get humbled, I think, like to go in other places and feel quite literally stupid. You're like, I have no idea how to do this. Like, what's up?
What do they say? When you stop learning, you die.
I don't know if they say that, but
I've heard that, something along the,
yeah.
But then also I think one more thing to add to all that is the smartest people we all know are probably the people that are willing to say, I don't know.
True.
Too many people just think they know everything. And that was me back then. So I feel like you guys have been beating me down pretty good on this episode. Let's talk me up a little bit. Let's talk about some of the things I learned. And that was probably the biggest thing. Like, it's okay not to know everything. And, you know, you need to have a little bit of humility and humbleness. I think when you're so, like you said earlier, like I was a kindergartner in entrepreneurship. I mean, we talked about like what with Ben earlier. What is the expression, like when luck meets opportunity?
Opportunity, yeah.
Like it was somewhat lucky, an opportune time. Many boxes failed, for the record, at that time in that area. Like CrossFit
you had the
Saratoga,
right,
Like
you had
not
the
mine.
right vibe for what CrossFit was at the time,
Right.
and
if,
people gravitated to that.
and I think if we didn't make it that like fun party scene, it wouldn't have. And that was the demographic we were attracting.
It was the right gym for the right time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was underground, and underground is a little wild.
Yeah, it was very. We
right.
talk about hipster, like you said.
For the record, it still exists. It's still open.
That is true. That is very. But I was saying, like, there were plenty of boxes that time that didn't make it, and that didn't make it since then. You're
Yeah.
right. It still exists. It's still open, and some pretty awesome, like you said, a dozen marriages, regional trips, a handful of games trips these days.
Probably 7 to 15 affiliates came out of it.
Yeah, I would say on that higher end. Like,
Really?
yeah, nowadays, because they're still sprouting up. I mean, we were at the New Jersey Summit. We saw Albany CrossFit,
Mhm.
CrossFit Beyond. You know, who was one of our box owners that changed hands. So it's cool. Like, it's fun for me to still look on social media and see some of the old school people still doing it.
I think
Viv and Kia and even Caleb again, and some of the other, you know, OGs.
I think another thing that a lot of young affiliate owners, and by young, I don't mean age, but experience in affiliate owning, should understand is consistency wins. You know, you were consistent in that, you know, you show up every day. Albany CrossFit was there for the better part of a decade before you sold it. It wasn't the Albany CrossFit it was at the end, at the beginning. And if you have a gym that you're trying to compete with across the street, or a group of people you're trying to get into the neighborhood or the community, or become a part of like a bigger part of it, like it takes time, but be patient. Like it's going to take 5 years. It's going to take 10 years. Like it takes time to build these things up.
What, you know, I like the idea of like we were unapologetically who we were. So Kevin mentioned Sasha, who to this day is, I think, someone we both consider a mentor.
I call him before every important decision I ever make.
After you call me or before?
I do not call you for those decisions.
Text me. He texted me. He
I
wanted
might
to
call
listen.
Fern now.
Yeah.
He seems like a steady hand.
Yeah.
No, but Sasha, I remember this was like a breaking point, not a breaking point, but a point where I was like, huh. He was like, Jay, people love you despite you.
Mm.
And I was like, do I want that? Like, do I want people? Would I rather be feared or loved, Katie? Both.
He would just rather people do what he says when
Yeah.
he says it.
No, but I was like, huh, that was like, you know, and I think also my maturity, like I was dating someone at the beginning, went through breakups, dated other people. And like by the end, I was like, I want to be in a mature relationship. Like, I think your box kind of takes on where you are a little bit in your life as well.
No question.
And you know, I graduated college, and there's like from 2000 to 2007, I was just grinding.
Yeah.
Training people, you know, unhappy in that world. And when I found CrossFit, and this is why I get so defensive of CrossFit, because I was like, it allowed me that opportunity to do what I love again. And, you know, at that time, it was like, I got to be alive again for those 7-8 years. I mean, that's why you say like, I don't remember, because I was doing drugs. Like I literally did 0 drugs during Albany CrossFit, but
You're just, well, for lack of better terms, you're just surviving. Like you're just
It
getting
was-
through every day without.
yeah, I mean, you know, Kevin, and we've been joking this whole time, like I was delegating to him, which I was, but I was still up till 2 a.m, uploading photos back in the day to like Typepad. And
So the reason that you delegated to me and others so much was because you were exhausted.
I would,
Right.
yeah,
By the time you reached the 3rd year of affiliate ownership with little help, you had help, but with little help, man, are you tired? And like, I think we've all been there as
Mhm.
affiliate owners, when you finally get help and you're like, dude, please take stuff off my plate.
and a lot of that was self-imposed. Like we talked the other day, we don't have to talk about it on here, like some of the drama that went on. Like that was my being a kindergarten entrepreneur, where I should have been like, you two cut the shit out,
Yeah.
or one of you is gone, you know. And I think, you know, not knowing how to handle that, or knowing how to have those sit downs, which again, a lot of that we all learn. Like one thing we didn't talk about is talk about affiliate ownership. Remember, we would bring Sasha in.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was weekly or monthly, to do like leadership lessons with us.
I still implement Sasha's leadership lessons today.
Yeah,
in the
me too.
business
Like, how
that
many
I do.
times, Katie, have you heard me talk about the whole message model? Like, that's Sasha, or the freeze game, or simple, complex, simple.
Yeah, I use that a lot.
Yeah, and
I call it far side simple, but yeah.
but the point is, like, that was I think that was big for all of us.
Yeah. And even, the old adage, what's the best way to lead someone? Like the way they're ready to follow. And like that, Sasha laid a groundwork for us that was tremendous in terms of leadership. We all use it now. Had we somehow managed to stay, keep the band together, it would have worked there. We all went on to do great things by ourselves.
That's my only regret in Albany CrossFit, is that we couldn't figure out a way to keep like the 4 or 5 main coaches together to continue to evolve together, but still have the box.
There's a cycle. If you look at what the Earth and Moon do around the sun, every like 197 days, Jay will send me a text. Let's open a box together. It's like every 197 days I get a message.
But I
from Jay.
mean, you, me, Caleb, I throw Murph in there.
Yeah.
Like, if the 4 of us could, like, the other coaches are great, they can come and go. But like, if we would have managed, and I blame myself for that. Like, the other thing I would have done is like, going back to a lot that we teach at Affiliate U, like maybe, less part-time people. Like, it's really not much different than what Fern has at Rife.
Yeah.
Like, you have 2 or 3 like pipe hitting full-time coaches, which these guys could have been, which allows you to be the gym mayor. Like,
but again, it's like you can't do that. You don't get to skip go unless you have somebody sitting in your back pocket telling you that.
Yeah.
You have to learn that on the hard way
didn't have
and
a
like
coach.
fall on your face and think that you can do it with part-timers the whole time and have it fall apart over and over and over and be like, fuck, all right, I'm gonna sort this out. But I do feel very fortunate now, but that took 11 years.
well, and if I had Fern or present day Ackerman as a coach back in 2011 or 12, one of us would have been like, you need to make less right now and pay Kevin enough that he doesn't want to go to Illinois, and maybe get rid of these people that aren't really adding more. And your $50 here and $50 here adds up. And if you can get that to Kevin and change the onboarding and maybe a few less parties because part of it too was I was burning you out.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, okay, less parties, more, focus on your talent show and your prom, and, do these things. And
Yeah, I mean, I didn't start to make those strides forward until I got a coach, somebody who could see what I couldn't see at that point. Because I was just incapable of pulling my head out of the sand or get out of the weeds.
by the way,
Yeah.
it's part of the best hour team.
Right, Marcus. Marcus was my first legitimate
You met
coach.
Marcus.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was my coach for a long time.
And he still is to some, for both
yeah,
of us
for
now,
sure,
like,
in a lot of ways,
not just on the team
in different
here.
ways now. But
I mean, I call
but-
Marcus, and I'm sure you do,
Yeah.
for standard advice.
Yeah,
Like, how do I deal with Fern today? He's being a little grumpy.
yeah.
And
he's like, it's you, Jay.
Damn it, Marcus. Give me the answer I want.
there's an overarching lesson there, right? Because for me, it's like when you read a book, if you're a smart person and you're reading a book, you want that person to be way smarter than you on that topic. And that's a tough ask when you're reading a lot of books, because there's not that many smart people out there pumping books out every year. What you really need out of a book is their perspective on that topic, so that their 15 years of knowledge you can consume in 5 hours, ready to go. If you have a coaching mentor, it doesn't mean that like Jason's smarter than you. That may not be the case at all. It means he's walked this path that you're on,
Right.
and he's 8 steps ahead, so he can lay out the landscape and show you what it is. And sometimes we just have to be a little humble and say like, yeah, I'm a really smart guy and I'm doing really well with this. But if I can gain some perspective from this other guy, I'm going to be even better.
Yeah, you cannot. There's no other way to gain experience other than getting it from somebody else who's going to give it to you. Either you have to do it, or you have to somebody else who's going to give you their experience and be able to apply context to your situation. And that's the only way. Like there's only 2 routes to do that. I either got to figure it out and fall on my face enough times, or I get to skip some of it by having somebody else come in and help guide me essentially through that stuff.
Yeah. And I think when I get frustrated with other affiliate owners these days, it's because, like you said, we are pretty much expert. Like, I claim I'm not really good at many things except coaching and affiliate ownership. So when people don't listen, it's like you always are, good about it. Like, cool, don't listen to me. but we know what we're talking about.
They're not ready. And
Yeah.
that, so as you do it more, you understand, like, I can try to hammer this into somebody's head, or I can figure out another way to figure out how they will be receptive to the information. It's just, and this is the same thing that we teach when we talk about in the level 2 setting, which is, hey, feedback's important, but the most important thing about feedback is that it's received. That is the only thing that matters when you're giving feedback, is like, does it stick? And if that means you have to change your tactic, or if you do something that's not necessarily like your style, then that's what you need to do. And that's what great coaches do. If you look at sports or whatever, and they're like, Phil Jackson, like, how does he manage, not David Robinson, Dennis Rodman and Jordan and Scottie Pippen, and like super, very type A in very different ways. Well, he didn't treat them all the same, because
he let Rodman skip practice.
Right. And didn't punish him for that, and he's just like, listen, he's like, I need this dude to do something, and we'll address that later.
And now that you mention it, that was probably a mistake. I was trying to manage everybody the same way, not like realizing Kevin needs this, Caleb needs that, Murph needs that.
Well, plus I'm a super weird guy. Like, that probably hasn't come across very much on this podcast. Jason can tell you, like,
the listeners are aware.
I'm a super weird, like, I just approach things differently, and it's not on purpose. It's just kind of how I am. And so, like, I felt
You're a contrarian.
I'm very much so. And in fact, like, I want to disagree with you on that. No, I'm just kidding. And so, and you and Caleb were very close, right? So when I came into the full-time club, I came into 2 guys that were like brothers, right? Like, some ways father, son, some ways brothers, but like, you guys were so close, and you guys agreed on everything. And so I took the position of the person who disagrees. And it was like, that's who I was the person who disagreed with the other 2, and had to pound my chest, because I was going 1 against 2 for a lot of that time.
But this is something I've learned in that exact scenario. You actually need that and want that.
Yeah.
But being old enough or mature enough, or having learned your lesson the hard ways, to recognize that person and understand, as painful as that opinion might be, it's necessary to have a dissenting voice in the room. Because the worst thing is groupthink. And it's like, oh, this is a great idea. Like, is it a great idea? Like, I see a couple of potholes here that we might run into, and you're like, shut up, Bob. And they're like, no, we should actually consider those,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I wasn't ready for that. In fact, when Caleb and I finally had a falling out, it was because he disagreed with me.
Yeah.
It was over something insignificant. But now, like, to show you, like, now, like, we need that, and that's something we bring to the table often with Best Hour, like in our daily meetings.
I also think it's a lot of the reason that you and I get together. And I wasn't get along, and I wasn't joking earlier when I said 5 to 7 years ago, this would not have worked.
Oh no,
like, not even close. I would have probably murdered you.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten along with you either, because I would have been like, why does this dude disagree with me?
That's my point.
Yeah.
But we've both gotten to the point where, like, I get where he's coming from. I know he's coming from a good place, and his perspective does have value, and I should consider where he's coming from, because the true answer is probably a combination of what both of us are thinking.
Yeah. And we challenge each other. I mean, to the point that we even want, like, Katie calls us out on shit, right, Katie?
She's like, I'm afraid. How do I answer this?
But we want that from everybody on the team.
Yeah. If you want someone on your team and you deem them as a valuable member of your team, then you have to take their opinion.
Right.
It's just part of it. And it's just trusting in that you brought the right person on, and now their opinion has to be a part of what it is moving forward.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Any other stories you'd want to share? Anything we didn't touch on?
So from an affiliate ownership standpoint, I think there's one important thing. You did things the Jason Ackerman way. And when I opened my gym, I specifically did things the opposite of the Jason Ackerman way, to a detriment. And so, to anyone who's out there that has something that, they don't like the way a certain thing is happening, they're going to go do it their way. I would just say, if you're a part of something that's successful, don't change everything when you go do it your way. Steal what works, take what works, and change the things that you're passionate about. But keep most of it the way that the successful business was doing it, because it's a big mistake I made, almost in spite of you. Like, to spite you, I just did everything different and kept classes super small, and I overpaid my coaches. And I did a bunch of stuff that was just terrible ideas. And it ended up not being the best business model at the end of the day. I had to revert back to the norm.
the Jason Ackerman way.
Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.